Again, John, I'm really sorry to have brought you in here today. You know how it is with the big wigs, right? Everybody's a suspect, huh?
It's, it's not a problem. Anything I can do to help.
Well, thanks for the understanding. So, just to shed some light here on the situation, there's a few things I have to run over with you. So, last Tuesday, 5th of September, as of course you know, Mr. Phelps, your co-CEO at Havant Firms, was found dead in his residence. It was pronounced at the scene that he had committed suicide by hanging himself from a 4-foot rope attached to the ceiling. But you already know all this.
Quiet man. Phelps, that is. But he had this vibrant soul. And this ethereal way that he lived his life. It was similar to a long-crested eagle. Guy had insights, a real bird's-eye view businessman, you know?
Yeah. All right. What can you tell me about your relationship with Phelps?
Well, I could recite history and give you all those itty-bitty details, but I think that's irrelevant. Basically, you know, as it was, we were on the same wavelength. We understood each other. And that made us just powerful co-businessmen at the firm. We were like space and time, you know? We fit together. Now I feel like there's this black hole where my best friend just used to be, and now it's just gone.
Yeah, it's a real shame that he took his life. But you see, the only real issue we've been dealing with here is that the suicide was, well, suspicious, to say the least. So, just for clarification, you were aware the night of the 5th?
5th. Let me think here. Oh, driving. I was in my Mercedes until 1 in the morning.
Where exactly were you headed?
Driving, man. I was just driving. Sometimes you just gotta go. Follow the righteous path and relax the mind. It's like my medicine, you know?
Now, there's something I'd like you to see, okay? Would you please explain to me why this phone, your cell phone, was found at the scene of the crime? A text message sent 3 minutes before the time of Mr. Phelps' death, meaning that you had to be there at the time of this so-called suicide. Now, how'd it get there, huh? Tell me how it got there, come on.
There's this ancient theory, dating back to the Mayans. It said that they experienced the teleportation of materials and beings from the physical states. It's a scientific...
Cut the crap, Orwell. You better start talking English here. Listen, we all know you did it. You were nervous, forgot the phone on the table, made a little mistake. It's over, pal.
Well, I guess at this point, just best to own it, right? It was me. Head full of greed, power hungry. I wanted to be the sole owner of our company.
Yeah, we figured as much. Well, John, why don't you bring us back to the night of the crime? Since everything's on the table, huh?
10 p.m. Tuesday night. I was in Phelps's apartment. He was sitting in the other room, lecturing me about derivatives or something economically charged. It was then that I must have set the phone down on the countertop. After sending the text message at about 10:03, let's say. I walked around to the other side of the apartment, where I took out these black leather gloves. But the monster wouldn't go spreading that physical evidence, you know? It's supposed to look like a suicide after all.
Well, you almost had us fooled.
Well, I'm a careful man. Now, in the briefcase I brought, I'd prepared the rope ahead of time. Took that out and came up behind Phelps, real slow, like rope in hand. I strung it round his neck, just to subdue him, you know? After that, he just kinda lay there, almost as if he was at peace with the world, oblivious to everything going on around him. Got very quiet after that, rather serene, you know? I went upstairs and prepared his inevitable fates. Next thing you know, he's hanging by the rafters. So picture the scene, his fists were clenched, feet writhing in pain, and then stillness. Death, it's a peculiar thing, you know?
So, by what you've just described, you can mark this down as specific intent, as you did have the desire to commit a wrongful act for the sake of accomplishing another. Besides that, I think we can both agree that you were the sole perpetrator in this murder.
Well, you could be right, but I may have one option working for me. First off, let me say that I believe each one of us is born with an unclean, sick mind. I've always felt that mental illness is a front for mental difference. Completely different things, alright? But that's not gonna stop me from raising the defense of mental illness, since it's something that this government has acknowledged as a legitimate way out. Besides, sometimes I feel a little senseless. I may not actually be criminally responsible.
I see. Well, in our law system, we have to appreciate a mental illness as truth. If you or your lawyer do make the choice to raise a defense of mental illness, you'll have to be psychoanalyzed by a professional.
Psychoanalyzed? I mean, what are they gonna do? Take some kind of sample of my thoughts? Psychoanalyzed. You know, the Chippewa, they had a word for that. It's called kakabesh. Means foolishness. It's like pixie dust.
As for the results from the mental testing, besides a genius-level IQ, psychologists have found John Orwell mentally fit to stand trial, and therefore aware enough to know exactly what he's doing during the murder, including the beforehand planning that went into it. It's obvious, Your Honor, that Orwell is very guilty. We'd like to call upon a witness to give his testimony on what happened. Mr. Johnson?
It was around 10:30, I think. I heard this peculiar kind of ruckus going on next door. I thought nothing of it until I heard a scream. Not loud, but audible. It sounded as if the person was in pain. That's when I decided to call the police. I actually don't usually concern myself with these sort of things, but in this instance, things just seem different.
After deliberation, the jury has come to a decision. The defense of a mental illness has been denied, and the jury finds John Orwell guilty of murder in the first degree. I am sentencing you, John, to life in prison with absolutely no chance of parole for 32 years.